behalf of the charity that did so much for us in Kabul. I'm very proud to be able to care for this very special dog.
Well, there we are, 5 very touching stories once again. If you're going to vote, and I hope you will, because once again it is a tremendous competition. Dan and Janus, 0844 646 0201. For Sue and Byron, with Max and Ziggy, add 0202 for Max and Ziggy. Tracy and Daisy, there is 0203. Owen and Hitachi, 0204. And finally, Sally and Bryn, 0844 646 and 0205 for Sally and Bryn. Calls cost 5p from a BT landline. From other networks may vary, and from mobiles will cost considerably more. Details and terms found at channel4.com/Crufts. Not available on 4OD, but watch live on 4/7. And voting closes at 6:30 tomorrow night. Friends for Life, it's going to be another very touching story. So make sure you're watching, because of course Channel 4 tomorrow night is giving you the best of the best as we build to the climax of the Best in Show. Well, we move on now. And dogs have played an important part in therapy for many years. It's well known, man is dog's best friend. But of course, over the years, perhaps the one therapy that has sprung to mind quickest is the guide dogs for the blind. And I wonder how many of you know that actually well over 400,000 people are blind or partially blind in this country alone. So there is still huge scope for the guide dogs to work their magic work. To tell you more about the story, ladies and gentlemen, delighted to welcome Matthew Bottomley.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to be here. Guide Dogs are really proud to be able to showcase some of our life-changing work in our display today. I was going to say to everyone, please do stay seated. I know there's lots going on at Crufts, and you may be tempted to head off, but it looks like a pretty packed arena, so we're delighted. We have a volunteer, I say a volunteer, really a victim, that we've pre-selected from the Eukanuba stand. Please give a round of applause, please, if you would, to Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Wave. Kelly is going to have a little walk with Delphi. You can see Delphi there with Andy. Say hi, Andy. Delphi is a guide dog, and Kelly is going to have a go with Delphi in blindfold. And that's Kelly in blindfold, not Delphi, I should add, because it would be really difficult for Delphi to do that in blindfold. Now, while they're doing that, I was going to ask you all if you would just now close your eyes. And I know some of you will be looking at me and thinking, I'm not going to close my eyes, and if I do, I'll fall asleep. But do close your eyes. We have a guide dog police force out there right now, making sure that you are. And please, do imagine what it would feel like if you could not open your eyes again. How would you get home tonight? How would you get to work on Monday morning? How would you cook tea tonight? It's a really frightening prospect, I'm sure you'll all agree. And it's one just to demonstrate some of the challenges that our blind and partially sighted people obviously have to face on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to head over now to our volunteer, and I probably should say you can open your eyes now if you haven't already. And we're going to have a look and see how Delphi copes now with someone, I was going to say someone strange on the end of the handle, but I didn't mean that in an offensive way in any way, shape or form. Sorry, Kelly. So you can see Delphi now walking very cautiously, avoiding the obstacles. Delphi is trained to appreciate Kelly as an extension of himself. So obviously he's going to avoid the obstacle himself, but also make sure that Kelly is safe too. A round of applause, please, if you would, for Delphi and, of course, for Kelly. And I'm just going to have a couple of words with Kelly. Do you want to take your blindfold off, Kelly? And I was just going to ask you, how did that feel?
It's incredibly... Can I put my glasses on? Sorry.
It's really scary. It felt like I was in a very small room, but it's quite large in here. To be plunged into darkness just for a moment makes you appreciate what people go through for their life if they're blind. But it's also quite exciting as well, because you give the dog, Delphi in this case, to all of your trust. And that, I'd imagine for someone who's never seen, who doesn't see, to be given that opportunity for another pair of eyes would be amazing.
Thank you for your contribution, and thank you for those words. We're going to move on now, ladies and gentlemen, and as was mentioned just previously in the introduction, you know there are almost 400,000 people in this country who are blind and partially sighted. And our aim at Guide Dogs is to help them get out and about on their own terms. Now please have a look at this remarkable film so you can see how our guide dogs really do change lives.
It's like having a friend, to be honest. It's like me having a friend guiding me.
Can do just about anything that anybody else can do now, and that's thanks to having a guide dog.
Every hour in the UK, another person loses his or her sight. Around half the people who are blind or partially sighted rarely go out alone. We believe that everyone should have the same opportunities. That's why we're committed to changing lives. Each blind or partially sighted person has particular needs, so we treat everyone as an individual. Take Alan Roberts, who goes on 17-mile hikes in the Cumbrian hills with his guide dog Seamus. He sets off without a map or compass.
When I go for a walk, it's the breeze, it's the noises around me, the smells. You enjoy it because you're doing things that you never thought you would be able to do. You feel exhilarated by it, yeah.
Sometimes even a dog isn't enough if you want to take on a big challenge, such as 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. Dave Healy did just that, and he was helped around not just by his dog Wixie, but by his running guide Mac. Together, they crossed the line.
I just hope, I really hope, that I can inspire young and old to then go out and say, well, hang on a minute, you know, nothing is impossible, let's go forward.
Losing sight does not have to be the end. It can be a beginning. Sarah Benton, with the help of her dog Wheat, has represented Great Britain at karate. She can't see her opponents, but she can sense them.
Nothing can be impossible with being blind, nothing. It can't stop you doing anything. If you're that determined and that positive about it, then there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to do it just because you can't see.
We've helped thousands of people to pursue their passions. Vargo takes cricketer Mohammed Khatri to grounds all over the country so he can play blind cricket for England. He can't see the ball, but he can hear the bell inside it.
They change your life. It's just one of those things. It's almost like as if just your life seems to be made a bit more complete.
Some people have more than one disability. Malcolm Mason suffers from multiple sclerosis and has very limited vision. We have specially trained dogs who can multitask.
Open. He'll do simple tasks like undoing the door. Good boy. Taking my socks off. Give. Good boy. Which is normal for most people. That's the remote for Dad. He gives you your independence back.
Despite our vital work, the Guide Dog Service gets no government funding. We need your help. You can change lives.
Well, some truly inspiring stories there, I'm sure you'll agree, ladies and gentlemen. And I wanted to say that we share, I'm sure, a passion for dogs. That's why I guess you're all at Crufts, and that's why we're Guide Dogs. But, you know, we do deliver other services to blind and partially sighted people as well. And that includes Sighted Guide, and you'll see an example of that now. Hi, Maria. And also campaigning. We campaign actively on behalf of blind and partially sighted people so that they can enjoy all the freedoms that perhaps you and I normally take for granted in some ways. And of course, we work with children too. And I'm pleased to say we've got some children here from Exhall Grange Specialist School, and we have their mobility instructor, Paul. And Paul, I gather they have a buddy dog with them, which is another service that we provide. Hello, Troy. How are you? Are you all right? Paul, tell me, what does Troy do at the school? What does he do for these children?
Well, Troy's been with us for about 2.5 years now, Matthew, and he's a valued member of our team. Exhall Grange is a school with multiple disabled children, some with communication problems, some with other problems in the classroom. When we put Troy into a classroom situation, he lends a very therapeutic and calming influence to both children and the staff alike. When we're out doing our mobility classes, he's a really valued member because he's so adaptable. We can do so many things with him. You know, he teaches the children concepts of left and right, forwards and backwards, and it gives them a real unique insight into what guide dog ownership's all about. So from the classroom situation up to going out to mobility lessons, out to talking to the general public, he's building their confidence, he's letting them feel what working with a working dog is like.
Thank you, Paul. That's great. A round of applause, if you would, for Paul and, of course, for Troy. I understand the children may well now have a little go through the obstacle course with Delphi, if Andy is willing to do that shortly. And in the meantime, we'll begin with our main display. This is our mock-up of a guide dog training centre. It doesn't look like one of our guide dog training centres, if I'm honest, but that is what it is. And I'm just going to explain a little bit about the sort of process that our dogs take. We breed and rear almost all our own puppies, and they're looked after, the mums and dads, the breeding mums and dads, and indeed the litters are reared in volunteers' homes, a wonderful group of volunteers that look after them for us, till about they're 7 or 8 weeks of age, and then they go through to puppy walking volunteers, such as these that we have here. Now, puppy walking is a phase that goes through to about 14 months of age, where the task is to essentially to expose and to socialize these puppies to as many different sights and sounds as they possibly can be exposed to, and as early and as young as possible too. So you can see this is Helen with Ishka, and hi Helen, and they've just encountered a roadworks, and so have I almost. Obviously very distracting, it can be quite smelly around a roadwork situation. This is our mock-up path, I should explain in case it's not obvious. It tends to ruckle up on the carpet at the moment. Now, I gather we've got Dave as well. Hi Dave, with Youssef. And Youssef is going to head the other way. Helen is now crossing the zebra crossing. You know, it's really important when you've, particularly if you have a visual impairment and you're working with a guide dog, to pick the right place to cross. And that's even more pertinent nowadays with busier environments, lots of noise in those environments. And nowadays, with ever-improving technology, we have cars that are quieter and quieter. And actually, Guide Dogs is very proud that we have a fantastic campaigning arm where we are campaigning to try to put audible noise within some of these really quiet cars, particularly electric cars. Now, I see Helen has now arrived at the cafe. Mine's a cappuccino, Helen, if you would. Cafes themselves, of course, can be really distracting areas. There's lots of food, there's lots of noise, there's usually other people, although this cafe seems to be quite quiet at the moment. Dave is just crossing a road. Again, really important that you pick the right place to cross the road and cross that safely. So all our puppies are getting used to that sort of environment that they'll be facing when they go into formal training. Now, talking of formal training, we're going to see a couple of dogs that are actually in training now. We have 3 dogs, I think, that are going to walk around the course shortly. This is Caroline with, you're going to have to remind me, with Upton. So Caroline with Upton is going to set off. Now this is Upton, who's been in training now for a short while at the training centre. Will experience similar sorts of issues as they go around the course. Took me by surprise, I thought we were going to the roadworks. So we have a mother with baby and pram. Again, can be quite a distracting time for a dog. So Upton is showing great caution, but of course he's friendly and affable as well before he carries on past. We have a pet dog. This one looks to be pretty reasonably under control, which is great. But sometimes, you know, unfortunately, they're not. And sometimes people, members of the public, do leave their dogs to roam free. And guide dogs, unfortunately, have been the subject of unfortunate attacks in the past, where many of our qualified guide dogs have actually had to be withdrawn after one of these attacks. Now, again, I mentioned campaigning. We've campaigned hard alongside other organisations to enable the government now to have put legislation in place that ensures that microchipping is now will be compulsory, I think, from 2014 onwards. So that's really good news. Parked cars on pavements, we're going to have to shift that later. Really can be very frustrating for a blind and partially sighted person to have a car parked on the pavement. The dog has to be able to use its initiative to negotiate the car, to find a safe place to cross before they then cross over that road. I've noticed we've got Bradley Wiggins on the bike here. I couldn't think of anything else but Bradley Wiggins, sorry. Victoria Pembleton, that would have been better. You haven't got the sideburns. We have lots of people congregating now around the cafe, interestingly. Must be some good coffee there. And of course the dogs are passing litter as well that's dropped on the pavement, various other distractions that they're having to contend with. So all our dogs, obviously very well bred, and I would say that, very well socialized and reared through the whole process of puppy walking, and then professional trainers enhancing their abilities to do the job. So I think it would be sensible now for us to look at the next stage. Once our dogs have gone through their early training, they move on to a period of advanced training where they're actually familiarized with really busy traffic noise, appreciate traffic as a danger, and they understand and have to learn how to negotiate crowds. And then they're matched to a blind and partially sighted person, and that really is a key element of what we do. You know, we have to understand our dogs. We have to really, really get to know our dog's temperament and its behavior. And then the real skill is actually matching it to a guide dog owner. And we have to look at things, for example, like where do they work? Where do they live? Do they live in a rural area where there are lots of farm animals around? Or do they live in the busy city, which presents a whole different suite of challenges? Do they walk quickly? Do they walk slowly? Are they tall? Are they short? All those sorts of things have to be put into the melting pot when we place a dog with our guide dog owners. And I'm very, very pleased to say we have a guide dog owner with us here right now. It's Penny Heffron. Hi, Penny.
Hello.
Penny, look, tell me, I gather you've been a guide dog owner now for over 30 years. You're a mum and you go out to work. Can you tell me what difficulties have you had to overcome during that time?
A whole variety of things. One of the hardest things for me was when the children were small, not being able to see their faces, the expressions, if they were happy, sad. And I think not being able to really enjoy seeing them perform at school concerts or school plays, not even knowing if they were on the stage, I found that really hard.
I can understand. And tell me, what about Clover? How would you describe her, your guide dog?
Clover is simply amazing. She's my best friend. She gives me confidence, courage. She's really so much better than my husband because she just doesn't ever answer back.
What a great line. And I probably ought to ask Clover as well. Clover, just quietly, what's it like having Penny as your mum? You may not have picked that up. She said rough. Well done. So I gather, Penny, you're now going to walk around the course. So we'll watch you go round, if that's OK. So it's a completely strange environment, of course, for all our dogs. And I should have said right at the beginning, we're not a professional display team. You've probably worked that out for yourselves now. With all the people that are here are staff and volunteers working for guide dogs and giving up their time to hopefully give you an entertaining display, but also a really informative display as well. So Penny is encountering all the same sort of things that our dogs in training did, but obviously Clover, being a qualified guide dog, is taking this all in her stride. We have Victoria Pembleton, got it right this time, coming around the corner. That's the third time you've done that. You'll be evicted shortly. And Clover continues to come round. As I say, this is really remarkable because obviously Clover has not done this before, and it really isn't, as you obviously know, a real pavement and a real situation for her. So crossing the road, past the very inconveniently parked car, and we'll leave Penny to carry on back to the training centre. If you could give Penny and Clover, of course, a huge round of applause. Thank you very much. Now, in a moment, we'll be telling you how you can get involved in turning one of our lovely puppies into a qualified guide dog. Meanwhile, it's time now to up the pace and move into fifth gear by introducing you to someone who is literally barking mad. They say that although he never looks where he's going, he can do almost 200 miles per hour in a Dodge Viper. And he can go even faster in a speedboat. Yes, he's blind. And all we know is he's called Steve the Speed. That's a very nice outfit, Steve, and it's very familiar.
I'm just glad I can't see it.
Welcome, Steve. Steve, tell me, you're the fastest blind man on the planet. How do you actually drive a car without seeing, and what actually motivates you to do it?
Well, if I could have seen, I wouldn't have been driving at 200 miles an hour, so many would say I was in a better position, for one thing. But a blind person's life is built around communication and it's built around trust. Whether you're working with a fantastic animal like Foster, or whether you're actually sat in a racing car doing 200 miles an hour, all you're doing is converting information that you're being given into a process. And that process on this occasion was I need to drive a Dodge Viper and race £30,000 at the same time for these fantastic animals.
Fantastic. And I gather you run your own business as well. Yes, a well-earned round of applause. Thank you. I gather you run your own business too, Blind Vision. Tell us about that.
Well, Blind Vision was set up in 1999 to run the Hat Trick Challenge, and that was me being the fastest blind man on the planet in a racing car, 2 world offshore powerboat records, and I became the first blind person in history to fly an aeroplane around the UK in 2004. These projects are nothing to do with breaking records. They're all about breaking barriers. They're all about creating a better world for us all to live in, and at the same time promoting these fantastic products which are called guide dogs for the blind. My life really started when I got my first guide dog, Brandy, and my confidence levels have just built from there. Some say to the extreme, that I go from walking with a white stick to get my first guide dog to flying an aeroplane. And if people want to know more about Blind Vision, the website is blindvision.tv, and you can come and see me afterwards on the guide dog stand.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Again, yes, thank you. And finally, Steve, can you let people hear that maybe in the audience that would like to help, or others perhaps at home that would be interested in helping guide dogs support blind and partially sighted people now and in the future?
Well, without you people here today supporting this fantastic event at Crufts, it's down to you that helps create the funding, which creates the independence that the charity actually provides for us. So everybody is key. We all want to be independent. We all want to be the best that we can be. And with your support, that's certainly happening.
Thank you, Steve. That's fantastic. Look, we're going to have to leave it there because I've seen this parked car here several times now as I've gone round, and to be honest with you, I'm determined to get it moved.
Well, I could move it for you.
Yeah, okay. You're serious, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Steve is going to move this Renault Clio for us. I hope it's, well, I'm not sure if I hope it's Steve or Foster driving. Not the back seat, front seat. Be much easier from there. Those of you sat over there, don't be too nervous, or perhaps you should be. Good luck, Steve. Okay, as Steve goes out, ladies and gentlemen, he is the amazing Steve Cunningham. Please put your hands together and give it up for Steve Cunningham. I'm so glad he didn't do 200 miles per hour exiting this arena. Look, would you also, we're getting near to the end of our display, would you also please put your hands together for the team that have put this display on for you so far? I'd really appreciate that, thank you. And can I thank you all for your attention too, for staying with us. I trust we've given you a pretty good insight into why our dogs are so special. Each one costs £50,000 to breed, train and support through its lifetime until it retires, and we need your help to carry on. Please do take a look at this film, and please do make a note of our numbers or email address as you leave the arena. Thank you again for your attention. Thanks.